Hey everyone, I'm Jennie Nash and I'm here to do a event at the Reedsy Facebook site. I'm really excited to be here. I'm a book coach and a lot of people don't even know what that means. Don't even know what a book coach does. And a book coach is very similar in some ways to an editor. An editor is going to help you with the words on the page. They might be at the developmental stage helping you with the structure and shape of your book, and they're going to make sure that what you've got on the page is clear and good. A book coach is going to have the added benefit of helping you execute that. So they're not just going to give you that feedback on the page, the editorial feedback. They're going to hold your hand and walk you through the execution of those things. The way I like to describe it is think of it like a personal trainer. It's like if you have a personal trainer, you go to the gym and they help you meet your fitness goals by being there with you and motivating you and telling you you can do it and correcting your form and all of that. And that's what a book coach does with your writing. And we do it all the way through a book. So from very beginning, getting everything on the page to very end. And in my work as a book coach, I help people at that stage, at the very beginning, and I help them all the way through. I help them at the revision stage, and I also help what I call rescuing books. So books that are not doing what they're supposed to do out in the world, I help rescue them. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about three key questions that you want to ask when you're starting a project, if you're stuck on a project, or if you're at that stage I was talking about, the rescue stage. Maybe something really has not gone wrong with your book and you need to go in there and fix it. That is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to take them one at a time, and these are the, people always ask me, okay, you're a book coach. What do you see people do wrong a lot? And I see these are the things I see people do wrong every day, and they're fixable problems, and they're going to help you write a better book no matter where you are in the process. The first one may seem really simple and easy to answer, but I find a lot of people don't actually ask this question, and that is simply, what is your goal? Why are you writing this book? It's the first question that I ask any client that I work with, no matter where in the writing process they are. Why are you doing this? If you're in the midst of writing a book, you know very well that it's hard. It is not an easy thing to write a book. It is long. It takes a long time. It's complicated. It's emotionally difficult. Most people doing it are also working in a full-time job. They probably have a family. Maybe they have a dog. Maybe they have a car that needs repairing. In other words, they have a life, and they're fitting it into that life. It is not an easy undertaking, and most people don't really know why they're doing it. They feel called to it, right? They feel this sort of passion for it. Usually they love to read. Usually they've been really moved by other people's books and want to move writers in that way. And they're called to do this work. It's a passion that they have. They also usually really like the work of writing a book. They like sitting in a room with books, and they like the quiet, and they like the focus, and they like falling into their story or their argument. They enjoy the process of writing. But why are you actually doing it? And the reason that it makes sense to ask this, and it's really powerful to ask this, is that your motivation is going to be the thing that's going to carry you through when things get tough. And I promise you, things are going to get tough. They are going to get tough. And if you know why you're doing it, it's going to make a really big difference. And when I mean, when I ask, why are you doing it? The things that I'm talking about are, like, be really honest with yourself. Do you want to make a lot of money, for example? Some people come to writing because they have a dream, an idea that it's going to help them make a lot of money. Do you want to have fame, make a name for yourself, be known for this thing that you're writing? That is a really valid goal and motivation that a lot of people have. Maybe you want to prove that you can do it. Maybe you want to prove it to yourself. Maybe you want to prove it to that 5th grade teacher who said that you couldn't write. Maybe you want to prove it to your mom. Maybe you want to prove it to, anyone. It could be a vague group of people, or a specific group of people. But why do you want to, why do you want to do this? Sometimes people just feel called to share a message or a story. They can't get it out of their head, and they're burning to share that. I would urge you to actually write down why you're writing the book, why you're doing it, what your motivation is really specifically, and be honest. You don't have to share it with anyone else, but to know why you're doing that. So why does this matter? There's a bunch of reasons why it matters. First of all, like I said, when the going gets tough, you can look back at your motivation and say, oh, right, that's why I'm doing this. That is my goal. That's going to carry me through. But the other thing is, it might really influence how you ultimately bring this book out into the world. There are so many ways to publish now. It is like the world is flat in terms of publishing. You can publish a book tomorrow if you want. You could publish a book in so many different platforms in so many different ways. There's a million self-publishing options. There's hybrid options. There's a traditional path where you get an agent and a traditional publisher. Reedsy can help you figure out and sort out the best way through that thicket of trying to figure it out. But if you don't know what you want, how are you going to make that decision? If you don't know what your goal and motivation is for writing this book in the first place, how are you going to even know how to weigh those options? It makes a really, really big difference. I have people who come to me all the time who don't know which path to go in terms of publishing. And what we do is we drill down into, okay, why are you writing this book? And I have a client, for example, who has a very successful executive coaching business. He's writing nonfiction. He lives in the Midwest, and he wants to increase his reach to a national level. Instead of just being really well known in the Midwest, he wants to be really well known in the whole universe. And he really wrestled with whether or not to self-publish or go the traditional route. And because of his motivations about what he wanted to do this fast, he wanted to do it well, he wanted to start in the Midwest and spread out, he decided to self-publish. That goal and that motivation helped him decide what to do. When it comes to fiction, it can be really very much the same thing. Do you just want to finish this book and hold it in your hands? Maybe you want to hold it in your hands by a certain date on the calendar, and you could care less whether or not it's ever in a bookstore in London or Houston, Texas, or Seattle, Washington. You might really want to self-publish. If you want to, let's say you already have a bunch of fans on Facebook, you're really busy on social media, you have people interested in your work and your writing already, maybe you want to serve those people and that's your motivation. You might want to go directly to them with an ebook or with a series of books on or a series of pieces of your writing on Wattpad or some sort of platform that helps you reach your readers quickly and directly. Your motivation is going to really drive a lot of your publishing decisions. So knowing really honestly, why are you doing this? The second point that you really need to jumpstart your book is this. It's simply, what's your point? And I probably ask this question more than any other question on the planet when it comes to writing. It's very different than what your goal is. What's your point? And people who are writing fiction often balk at this and they say, well, that's really easy if, like that thing you just said, Jenny, that executive business coach, he knows what his point is. He's got a coaching philosophy for his clients, and that's easy. How does a fiction writer know what their point is? And does a novel even have a point? Does a middle grade story about dragons have a point? And the answer is absolutely 100%. Every book makes a point. We come to reading because we want to make sense of the world. We want to have a logic to it that doesn't exist in real life. In case you hadn't noticed, real life is totally chaotic, and it actually doesn't make very much sense from day to day. And knowing what, coming to a story and having it make a point, having it make sense, having it pull things together in the world so that it's logical and reasonable, that's what we come to books for. And that's specifically what we come to novels for. So novels are going to absolutely make a point, every single one of them. And a writer who doesn't know what their point is a writer who is going to flounder. They're going to write a novel with a muddy plot. They're going to write a memoir that's rambling and self-indulgent and all over the place. They're going to write a nonfiction book that doesn't hold together and serve their audience. You've got to know what your point is. So let's talk a minute about what some of those points might be. Remember that there are so many reasons that people come to books. Like I talked about, we're coming for that logic, for that sense, for that way of being in the world that feels better than real life in many ways. And there are many kinds of emotions that we feel in that in that experience. So that could be, we want to just be entertained, right? We want to laugh. We want to have a good time. We want to enjoy the experience. The point could be that we come to the book for, could be we want information. We want to know what it's like, for example, to be a young Black man growing up in the South in America in the 1930s or in 2017. We want to know that. So we come to a novel to know that. We come to books for solace all the time, to feel better about the world, to feel that humans are noble and good and treating each other with dignity and respect. We come for solace and to be to feel better about humans and human nature. We come to books for education, to learn what was it like in France during the Revolution. What is it like to climb Mount Everest? We come for very specific reasons. And if you pay attention to your own reading life, you will see this. You will see that you're drawn to certain books and certain writers for certain reasons. You want something from them. And the books that you love have that. And you can, if you're reading a book and it just feels like, oh, you can't wait to get to it every night, you can't wait to pick it up, it's doing something important for you, try to identify what that thing is. Because when we do that as a reader, we can start doing that as a writer. And we need to do that from the very beginning as a writer. We need to know what we're giving to those readers, our future readers. What point are we making? What are we saying about human nature? What are we saying about the universe? What do we believe about our topic? So again, let's say your topic is, well, I talk about some books that everybody knows to try to give you a sense of how this works. The Hunger Games, massively successful YA dystopian novel. It proves that love always triumphs over evil. That's a pretty great point for a novel to make. The Glass Castle, that is a memoir about a tough childhood that a lot of people know and love. It proves that people can rise above a tragic childhood. So these points that you want to nail down often sound like bumper stickers, and that's okay. That's actually really good to know the bumper sticker message of your story before you start, because that's going to help guide your writing. That's going to help you know, should I leave this in or should I leave this out? And by it, I mean a whole subplot, a whole character arc, a whole scene, a whole thread, whatever it might be. Knowing what point you're trying to make can keep you on track, and you can keep that bumper sticker about it right on your computer to look at every time that you write, to know why you're doing this, not why your own motivation. That's the goal. This why is what point are you trying to make about the world? And Suzanne, I see that you made a point about The Hunger Games, that The Hunger Games is a remake of the short story The Lottery, and that's true. The Lottery is a harrowing, amazing short story, and I unfortunately can't remember the name of the author right now, which is terrible, but I can't. But that short story is exactly what The Hunger Games is based on. But what's interesting about that, and why I always tell people to have this bumper sticker point about what they're trying to say, is because there are no new stories under the sun. Suzanne, you're totally right, 100%. And we're all kind of writing the same thing over and over again. But again, the reason we come to story is for the very specific way that that author is approaching that story. We can read The Lottery, the short story that The Hunger Games was based on, and feel something and get something different than we can get from The Hunger Games. There's other permutations of that story out there all over the place as well. And the reason that there are so many books and TV shows and movies in the world is because people need stories. They need them all the time. They need the same stories, but they don't just need, they need this specific way that you are telling it, that this author in this time, in this place is telling it. They need that. And so you need to know what you're trying to say in that bumper sticker way so that you can give them something that they are coming for. So to write towards this point, towards this ideal, towards this vision, it is the number one thing that writers do not do, and it's the number one problem that I see in manuscripts that I work on. The manuscripts tend to be rambly, all over the place. You don't know what the point is from one page to the next. There might be pretty writing here and there, but we don't know what the point is. There is no point usually. So thank you, Anne, for sharing. Shirley Jackson was the writer, author of The Lottery. Thank you, Anne, for sharing that. And Kate Pickford also did. So Catherine Blount, you ask a really great question. Can the point change and evolve during the course of the writing? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And what tends to happen is you start with that bumper sticker and you move to something more nuanced, and you move to something that's deeper, and you move into a sort of more profound understanding of what that point is. That definitely happens. And many times I've had this experience myself in my own writing, and I've shared it with many of the writers whom I coach. You often get to the end of a book and you're writing towards that Post-it note bumper sticker point, and you get to the end of the book and it almost is like you didn't really know what you were doing until you got to the end, and then you see it in so much clarity. And it's the same point, but it's got this depth to it that all of a sudden it's like a light bulb moment, like, oh, that's what I'm writing about. I get it. And then that's the power that you can take to your revision, is knowing really, really what you're writing about is to go back to it. My third point that I want you to ask before you start to write, or if you're stuck or in trouble, is who are you speaking to? Who are those people out there that you hope to reach? Which writers are going to be your ideal readers? I have found in my experience that almost nobody who is called to writing has not been moved in some very profound way by another writer. Usually writers are readers, and we've had that experience of really just feeling this deep connection to this author. And what's extraordinary about a book as a form of art is that it lasts so long. It can last so long beyond the life of that author. So we often feel that deep connection to authors who aren't even alive anymore, or to authors who lived in very different times than we did, who we will never know or never meet and never actually connect with. But that gift that they give us is that we feel seen. We feel known by that person. I don't know if you've had this experience. I certainly have. But when you're reading a book and you're so immersed in it and you're so into it, and you almost feel like that writer's looking over your shoulder into your life, like they know you, they see inside your heart and inside your head. And it's a profound feeling of relief and gratitude to be seen. And that's really what the connection of reader to writer is we see each other through those specific stories that we tell, and the stories that we read, and the stories that we love. Know who you're trying to reach. The ideal reader that you want to connect to, who exactly are they? And by that, what I really mean is, what do they need? What pain do they have? What fear do they have? Where are they in their life that they need help from you? And what specifically is that help? That's what I mean by know who your ideal reader is. That's the third question. Who's your ideal reader? And really be specific about this. Name them. I mean, if you actually have a person in mind, use that name. But how old are they? Where do they live? What are their fears and worries? What about their life is hard for them? What keeps them up in the middle of the night? All of those questions are the questions that we want to know so that you can deliver the story that they need. So that may seem to you to be somewhat sort of vague or weak, like, well, who's my ideal reader? That, why do I have to think about that? But I promise you, if you can really drill down into knowing who your ideal reader is and what they want and what your story can give them, you're going to start to make that profound connection that writers have with their readers. You're going to be doing that while you write, and you're going to be baking that into what you write. And it's going to help you write the best work, because now you're not just writing into a vacuum, you're writing for an actual person. Okay, so there's a great question here from Rosemary about what if you are writing memoir. All of this absolutely 100 applies to every sort of genre. I coach clients in every sort of genre, and all of these things apply. And I love what Kirsty is saying, that she's got a photo of her ideal reader beside her desk. Kirsty says, she's a real person. When I get stuck, I look at her and ask if she would understand what I'm saying. I love that. That is fantastic. I have sometimes seen people make like magazine collages of their ideal reader. So back to the question about memoir, how does this apply? So with memoir, it's particularly important. These 3 points are particularly important for memoir. I mean, I'm going to say that about every genre, but with memoir, okay, let's just go from the top. I got to remember what my points are. Okay. What's your goal? Why are you writing this memoir? If you don't know the answer to that, you're going to write a bunch of rambling, self-indulgent journal entries that nobody cares about. I know that sounds harsh, but it's really true, because your life does not make a good story, usually unless you're already a celebrity or famous in some way. Your life is your life, but the story you want to tell in the memoir is really different and needs to be really specific, and you need to know why you want to share that. What about your story do you want to share with the world, and why? And who's going to care? What about it is going to make them care? Well, you need to just drill down into that so hard and know what your point is and why somebody needs it, so that you can cut out all the pieces of your life that are not going to make that a good story. So that is so true with memoir. I hope that answers the question. I'm happy to answer more or talk more about memoir if that didn't answer it. But memoir writers really have to answer these questions almost. I don't let any memoir writing client go to page 1 until they answer these questions, because the danger is you're going to write 300 pages that go nowhere, and they're going to be fun to write, and it might feel good, and you might, get a bunch of words on the page, but they're not going to connect with a reader. They're not going to serve some sort of need or pain that reader has, and they're just going to be, something that you did. And writers want to be read. That's why we're doing this. We want to be out in the world and have our books, not just read, but we want them to resonate with people. So that's what these questions are designed to do. Before we end the chat, I do want to remind everybody about the Reedsy courses, and the course that I have on there is 10 steps to take before you write your book. Or if you're stuck or need to rescue it, I would urge you to go check that out. It's free. It's fantastic. It comes into your inbox. And there's also a lot of other really excellent resources on there for writers and people at all different places in the book writing process. And hopefully I will see you back here another time, and certainly look for the other ReedsyLive live events that are coming up. They got some really awesome things lined up, and they're doing so much great stuff for writers, and we all have to support each other, everybody who's helping writers out in the world, because the world needs us really badly. And we need each other. So I'm happy to be part of this. And thank you, all you guys, Deanna and Liz and Janine and Zara and Jocelyn. I really appreciate it. All right, bye.